When content creation and YouTube was first becoming a big thing, PewDiePie was probably one of the most well-known YouTubers, the most subscribed. Everybody knew about him. Everybody would always say, dude, you should watch PewDiePie, and you almost felt obligated to watch him, even if you didn't really like his style of content because his following was so massive. This was the first man that essentially pioneered, controlled, and became the face of YouTube. And now, as time goes on, that's changed. Obviously, there were always people who followed not too far behind him, people like Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, large YouTubers who had a similar influence but just didn't have the same following as him. And then comes along Mr. Beast, and Mr. Beast completely changed the game of content creation. Every single aspect was optimized, from thumbnails to little edits to keep the viewer's attention as long as possible. YouTube and social media is a game, and there is a way to win it. And what I'm doing right now is not how you win social media, but this is the kind of content that I like to make, so that's what I'm gonna do. And maybe someday, if I'm in a good financial position, maybe I'll try to make more advanced content, but for now, this is what I like to do, and this is what I feel fulfilled doing. But YouTube is a game, and there's a way to win. What I find so interesting now is that there are still content creators, though, who don't follow this and still can find a decent amount of success, especially some of my favorite content creators. The thing is, people now don't consume content like they used to. People used to read books, then it was listening to radio, then it was watching TV, and then it went from watching TV to now, obviously, you had like more advanced versions. Obviously, you would get like more channels and stuff like that, different types of television, and then you got the internet. And once you had the internet, you had access to so much media at your fingertips, and even early on, you had your first access to what I would call like short form media in just shorter videos and stuff like that. And so now we consume content almost exclusively online. People do still watch TV and stuff like that, but I'd argue that's mostly for sports, and people just stream the other shows that they want to watch. And at this point, with how advanced a lot of the content is on YouTube, YouTube also basically just hosts TV shows, and at this point they also supply a lot of movies for free. And if you want to pay for a subscription, you can also just watch a lot of other movies. Everything you need for the most part is on YouTube that you would have had to pay for cable before to watch on the television. But that isn't the most consumed form of media anymore. People, especially younger people, love short form media. And I'm not just talking about TikToks, I'm also just talking about YouTube videos as opposed to a television series. And I know I'm one of those people as well. I don't really watch a lot of TV. I have YouTube Premium, so that way I'm not interrupted with ads, and I pretty much just watch YouTube when I feel like watching something. I do obviously have movie series that I like, I do have TV shows that I like, but a majority of the time, majority days out of the week, what am I doing? What am I watching? I'm watching YouTube. And the main thing I wanted to talk about is two content creators that stand out to me solely because the way that they've achieved their success is a little bit unorthodox as opposed to what we've seen in recent years. In recent years, when somebody's up and coming and you see them rising, they have a certain style. They're very energetic, very lively, very in the camera, quick edits, fast-paced content. And it works because it draws people in. You feel like you can't stop watching it. You want to know what happens. It's just good, addicting media. Like, I'm not trying to sound like I'm hating on any of these people because they're just playing a game and winning it. But then you get guys like these other two content creators, and those two are Queso and Joe Bartolozzi. Now, first we'll start with Queso. Queso was just a relatively small gaming streamer for a long time. But people became attached to him because of his personality. Solely because of how he acted. And you could argue that people do that for all of their content creators, but usually the personality that you get attracted to is manufactured and exaggerated in some way. Whereas Queso feels like he's just being himself, and obviously, yeah, he exaggerates stuff. He'll probably rage a little more than he would, be a little louder than he would, but that's just because he knows his fan base. I feel as though when you watch his content and you watch his streams and you hear the things that he says, you understand that this is a guy who has a genuine care for his fan base and an appreciation for the situation that he now finds himself in, to be able to create content that millions and millions of people find him comforting. And that's the other thing I want to mention that makes him stand out, is to so many people, he is just a source of comfort. Just to turn on his streams in the background or be in his chat and watch him, because he's a relatable figure. He's not presented as some godlike figure who has a social status higher than everybody else around him. He just feels like a regular dude. And now I'm going to segue from that into Joe Bart, because that is one of the main things about him I feel like also draws people to him, is that he is is just a regular dude. He also obviously sometimes is going to exaggerate stuff and the way he acts, but he's very authentic, very genuine on stream. He doesn't change who he is for the camera. He's very blatant about how he feels about things. He gives his opinion. He loves philosophy, and he makes time to make those philosophy videos despite a majority of his fan base being 12-year-olds who don't care about that shit. He knows there is a decent percentage of his fan base that is interested in that stuff the same way that he is. So he still retains respect for himself and does what he wants to do, as well as providing different kinds of content for the different aspects of his fan base. And obviously he's also probably going to respect and appreciate the parts of his fan base more that like appreciate the philosophy stuff, because that is something he identifies with heavily. He really, really loves and enjoys that. Also, don't want any of this to come off parasocially, because that's not what this is at all. I don't know Queso. I don't know Joe Bart. It sounds like I'm talking about them like, oh, they're my best friends, but that's not what this is at all. This is just me talking about how I kind of view them as a content creator, the same way I hope people will view me someday, where it's like, I'm not your friend, I don't know you. Unless I've met you in person, then I do know you and we have a basic connection. But if all we've had is you watching me and I have no clue who you are, then we're not friends. Obviously, everybody knows that. And so in the future, I'm really just hoping that personalities like Queso and Joe Bart continue to emerge and be prevalent in the content creation space, because they're just a nice refresh compared to some of the other high-paced, hyper-edited media that just feels like complete brain rot. It's nice to just listen to a person talk about their takes or play a video game and give their authentic reaction. Back when I was younger, I remember a time before YouTube videos were hyper-edited, which it's a really weird thought to have that there's so many kids now who don't even remember a time before this like era of YouTube when everything is just like straight dopamine maxing your brain to try to keep you engaged in the content. Back in the day, I mean, people would edit like little stuff where they'd like zoom in, zoom out, maybe change audio at certain parts, they'd add music and stuff like that, but stuff wasn't like, you know, thumbnails weren't super fancy. You didn't have faces in every single thumbnail, making crazy faces, airbrush to shit, trying to get people to click on their videos, big red text, and obviously I know you're gonna make fun of me because I do that too, but I'm just trying to get views too. But now everything's super fast paced, and I edit my videos fairly fast paced. I wouldn't say I do anything crazy, but if I take pauses, breaths, sometimes I'll cut those down, as well as adding text occasionally, zoom in, zoom out, some voice effects, which really is nothing compared to the type of editing that is being done on a majority of content on the app anymore. But I'm going to say I don't think content will ever go back to the way it was now. There's just simply too much of a demand for the Mr. Beasts of the world and that kind of content creation, and making it into more of a corporate thing where you're trying to maximize profit and all that stuff. And once again, not hating, like, I get it. That's what most people dream of. Most people dream of becoming big on this app and making lots of money and stuff like that. And as I said earlier in the video, it's just a game and these people are winning it. Jay Schlatt, one of my favorite YouTubers, also talks about that a lot. There's been many points in many of his videos where he talks about how he doesn't necessarily do content that fulfills him. He just does what the algorithm is going to push, because he understands what the algorithm wants for his thumbnails, what the algorithm wants to promote as far as the type of video. That's why he does so many TikTok Reacts videos, because it just promotes those more. Those are the only things that will show in people's For You tab or whatever in YouTube, as opposed to him making a project that he's really passionate about, which will get, I don't know, half the views, but will have double the support, because people do have a demand for that kind of content. They want to see it, especially if you have a devoted fan base and people who actually watch you and have a connection to your personality, as I would say people do to Joe Bart and Queso. Those are prominent online figures who people feel as though they have a connection to, hopefully not parasocially, but just have a connection in that they really enjoy their content and they feel comfortable watching them. So ideally, in the end, that's kind of the point that I hope to get to, where maybe at some point I'll start making content that doesn't necessarily fulfill me as much, and I treat it more as a job. But once I've garnered enough of a following and I have people who look at me as an online personality who they can find comfort in and come to and want to watch consistently, that I can start making content that I'd actually enjoy. Even if it's not going to be promoted, it'll still get views, it'll still get support, because you just have that much of a built-in following. That is the point that I want to get to, because Schlatt's basically at that point too. I mean, his weekly Schlatt videos, obviously they don't do as good as his main channel videos, but he still has like 1 million subscribers there and is still getting at least 100,000 views on every single one of his Call of Duty commentary videos, which YouTube has no demand for. Like, it does not push for these kinds of videos at all. So that is purely people liking his personality and going out of their way to find more of it. So yeah, let me know down in the comments what you guys think about all this, who your like favorite creators are and stuff, and how you feel just about the content creation space in general right now. But I think that's about all I have to say, so we'll see you in the next video.